I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us here on Closing Arguments. This hour, we're going in depth into one of the big investigations that is taking place right now, perhaps the biggest in the nation, criminal investigations. We're talking about the case out of Central Florida involving this young girl, just 13 years old, Madeline Soto, had just celebrated her 13th birthday and then went missing on February 26th. Her birthday was on the 22nd. They had a celebration on the 25th. And this hour, we're going to go through three things that I want to take a look at. And I want to begin with an accidental release that happened. And this was a little bit disturbing, surprising, and not welcomed, I don't think, by the public in what happened here. And it involves a crime scene photo. This is from reporting from Fox 35, a statement made by the sheriff. This is what the sheriff said. A post was made on social media about a community event for seniors. In the post, an investigative photo was accidentally included. The photo was immediately removed. We deeply apologize for any confusion or disturbance this may have caused. And that comes from the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. So what exactly was released here accidentally? Well, there's another post I want you to take a look at. This came from, I guess, a political opponent of that sheriff, the former sheriff who's running again, former Osceola County Sheriff Russ Gibson posted this on Facebook. The second photograph that I received was an Instagram post made by Marcos Lopez himself. This photograph was taken at an active crime scene where Madeline's body was recovered, and it was indeed a picture of Madeline's lifeless body. This is 100% unacceptable and 100% shameful and disrespectful to Madeline, her family, and friends. So, a picture from the crime scene posted accidentally of Madeline's lifeless body at the scene. All those types of images aren't allowed to be publicly disseminated in the state of Florida. And obviously, there are issues on how it could impact family, friends, and others. Ultimately, I don't think it will impact any trial or investigation. Then another post, or the same post, the sheriff continued. The first photo is a selfie of an Osceola Sheriff's Office civilian, Nerva La Sharifa Rodriguez, and the main suspect of the murder of Miss Madeline Soto as he's coming out of a building handcuffed. To post this photo for her own personal gain and notoriety is unacceptable and shameful. So here's what the former sheriff is talking about here. This was a selfie that was posted to Facebook. Although the post has since been deleted, that image was posted, and on it you can see the suspect in the background coming out, and then a selfie taken by a civilian working in the sheriff's office. Not in great taste. Not in great taste at all, and sort of unfortunate parts of what has transpired in this investigation so far. But that man, Stephen Stearns, let's talk about him. And a lot of chatter and talk. Was this guy a Disney employee? Did he work for Disney? Now, if you go to his Facebook page, it's pretty clear. He posts up there that he was, in fact, a cast member at Walt Disney World. And for those of you not familiar with what a cast member at Walt Disney World is, that's someone who works there. You don't have to be one of the characters wearing the costume. You just have to work at Disney, and you're considered a cast member. So based upon that, a lot of folks are a little worried based upon the allegations he's facing now for those photographs on his cell phone that he was arrested for, sexual abuse. We believe that victim in those photos is Madeline, but working at Disney. So here's what the Orange Observer is reporting about whether or not he works at Disney. And despite information on the Facebook profile belonging to Stephen Stearns, the man arrested February 28th in the case of missing 13-year-old Madeline Soto was not a Disney cast member, officials confirmed. So not a cast member. Was he a former cast member? Did he ever work there? Did he work for a subcontractor there? Those questions we still don't know. And I'm not sure if he had any interaction with guests at the park. But the latest that we're getting on this, the official word is he was not, and or is not, or was not at the time of his arrest. So we'll continue to try to figure out more of that. Finally tonight, I want to get into some body language analysis because the suspect in the cell phone case, who's a suspect in the disappearance and murder of Madeline, the boyfriend of the mother gave an interview on television, as did the mother. So what is their body language telling us in these interviews? Let's bring in our special guest who's joining us from Orlando, Florida. You know her well, human behavior expert Susan Constantine, back with us. Susan, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. I want to get into this. I want to show you first Stephen Stern, who agreed to an interview. This is the night after Madeline disappeared, which is also the day before he was arrested. This is all courtesy of WFTV in Orlando. You know that station well. We have the video. Let's watch it together.
I dropped her off. Everything looked fine when I drove away. It's the last time we saw her.
What were the conversations that y'all had in the car when you dropped her off?
Not much. She was asleep for most of the way. Told her have a good day at school when she got out. I love her. She said thanks, love you too. That was it.
And so where do you think she could possibly be? I mean, this isn't, as I was told, this isn't normal behavior.
This is not normal behavior. She's not the type that would just run off. We don't know where she could be. And we're scared. We just want her home.
Are you, in a sense, blaming yourself?
It's hard not to. It just keeps coming in waves. Just the reality keeps hitting. And we don't know where she is. We don't know if she's safe. We're just scared. We just want her home. Conflicting reports here and there. People say they see this or that. None of it's conclusive and none of it's helpful. We just want our baby girl back.
Okay, Susan, let's start with Stephen Stearns, who's in custody now for what was found on his phone, but obviously a suspect in this investigation. What are your thoughts about his statement there? There was a lot.
There was a lot. In fact, when I was covering this on Fox 35, I urgently stated right on air that the sheriff's department needs to consider this person as a suspect in her missing. So anyway, when I'm watching his body language, you notice that he's looking down a lot. So he does what we call eye blocking. He doesn't make eye contact when he's actually talking to the reporter. That's always a concern for me. But let's cluster things together, okay? So when you see him taking these really deep breaths in and it comes back out, those are manufactured. It didn't go in sync with his emotional affect on his face. There's also, if you look really close, there's asymmetry in his eyebrows. One will lift up a little higher than the other one. Natural emotion will move synergistically or in synchrony on both sides. So anytime asymmetrically is always a side of concern. The other thing is there's no tears, Vinnie. We're looking at him. He doesn't have red bloodshot eyes. He doesn't have any tears coming down his face. He's got this kind of scratchiness in his voice, and he's pushing these emotions to appear like he's very sad and he's worried. I don't see it. There's no stressors in the forehead. There's no sadness in his eyebrows. To me, it's an great big fabricated story. And the other thing I want to mention, when he said that she was asleep, I think she was asleep, but it wasn't that she was asleep. In the real world, she was already dead. I think that was where she was already dead at that point.
Yeah, the dry wipe always gets me, right? You're wiping, you're dabbing your eye, but there's nothing there to dab. What are you doing? Like,
it's all fake. It's a big fake out. That's all it is.
I mean, I've seen that in courtrooms, but and here he is in this moment. I'm surprised that he even would appear on television, but he did. Now, I know you also, as you mentioned, you did the analysis before the arrest, by the way, on Fox 35 down there. And there was another interview with the mother where he's in the background. And a lot of people have been talking about, like, what's he doing back there? It was odd behavior.
Yeah, so it's almost kind of like stalker behavior, where he pushed himself kind of in the background so that he wasn't present in the front of the camera. And it was because he was watching her, watching the environment. Also, too, when he first walked in the room, he made a lot of noise. He bopped down the trash can. There was a lot of agitation that was going on. He didn't sit next to her to support her. He was in the back. But keep in mind, now look at, he's like crying. He's really concerned. I really love her. But yet there's no unity between them. So that what I thought was very strange on the front end of it. The other thing is that when you look at what she says, and I actually wrote it down, right here, Jenn Soto says, I went to go pick her up at school and she wasn't there. And then simultaneously, you have to look at things at how they sync together. Right at that moment, what does he do? He starts stretching and cracking his knuckles. This is where tension is built up. When a person is feeling highly stressed, they may stretch their fingers out and they start cracking their knuckles to kind of release this lactic acid. The second part of that was, Jenn says, that there's a lot of conflict of who took him to school. First of all, I think it's all a whole big fabricated story. I don't think any of it is true. I think she was dead. When you're listening to the story unfold, it was we took them to school. Then it was I took him to school. And then it was the boyfriend that took him to school. When you see all this disjointedness, when we analyze this, I throw my team on it, we're all talking to each other and going, oh, I'm smelling a rat here. First of all, I think they're both involved. I think she's covering up for him.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this. Madeline's mother also spoke to WFTV Orlando during that same interview. Let's watch that together.
I feel like I can't breathe. All I keep thinking about is, where is she? Is she safe? Is she okay? But we're all a wreck. My entire family is a mess. We're just so worried. We dropped her off at school, close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to share. Spotted walking by the church, by the middle school, on the cameras. They saw her hang out in the parking lot for a little bit and then get up and leave. They didn't see a vehicle or anything else. They just saw her walk away around 9 a.m. heading towards the school, but she never made it. In my heart, I feel like somebody took her. This isn't like her to just pick up and run away, or just not go to school. I don't know what to think. We're desperate for any answers, anything that you could do to help. I'm here for it. Just please, if you see my daughter, just please bring her home. I just hope you're okay, Maddie. I hope you're safe. I hope you're not hurt. I just hope she's okay.
Okay, Susan, your thoughts here on Mom.
Well, first of all, she's in fight or flight. You see her really shaking. This is not your typical nervousness. This is a shivering. Oftentimes you see that when somebody's really in trouble, right? You see them shaking like if, they're very, very nervous. That's really more of a nervous. You see her looking up a lot. We call the three-corner white, but from the bottom. She's searching for answers. There's pauses in between her thoughts. She kind of loses her thought. She's then asking the interviewer about what she should say or what she shouldn't say, or maybe I shouldn't say it. That's really odd because that would almost imply that she was talking to an attorney or something, that she was kind of prohibited in saying something. The other thing is again, remember she saw her going across the street. We dropped her off. I think that she did, but it wasn't that day. And this is what liars do. And Casey Anthony was really good at this. She would play out things in her mind that had occurred before, or that she visualized it, somebody else doing it, but putting herself in that situation. So I am telling you right now, Vinnie, and I will bet my career on it, the mother's involved. She's covering it up for the boyfriend. I don't think she had anything to do with it, but I think there was a high conflict between her and that birthday party. When you look at the language, and there was a conflict between the mother and the daughter. I even asked Fox 35, I said, hey, what's going on with this relationship with mother-daughter? There's a high conflict. Why? Because early on, you could listen to her tone. There's a lot of videos. She was an agitation, almost some anger that I could hear in the back of her voice. So the other thing is there's no tears, there's no sadness, there's no remorse. And I have to ask you a question, Vinnie, and any of your viewers out there. Did you feel any emotion there?
No.
There you go.
We didn't. We didn't. And I hate, and again, no one's been charged at all in what has happened to her. We only know about the charges relative to the cell phone. The investigation continues, but it's a big part of the investigation. What was going on in the house? What's going on with the relationships? All significant stuff. Susan, always great to have you on the show. We appreciate your time and your incredible insight. I know for sure we'll be speaking again, so I'll just say I'll see you next time. Thanks so much, Susan.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, when we come back, there they are. They're getting ready. We're going to bring in the think tank. Rick is fired up already. He's ready to go. Don't go anywhere. Think tank.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan.
In every story, in every trial, every case, there's at least two sides to it.
To dive into the latest.
Oh my God.
And breaking true crime stories.
This was a very targeted, very personal attack.
Inside.
My whole life depends on it.
And outside of the courtroom.
She's a psychopath.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Saturday morning, 10/9 Central. Only on Court TV.
And Casey Anthony was really good at this. She would play out things in her mind that had occurred before, or that she visualized it, somebody else doing it, but putting herself in that situation. So I am telling you right now, Vinnie, and I will bet my career on it, the mother's involved. She's covering it up for the boyfriend. I don't think she had anything to do with it, but I think there was a high conflict between her and that birthday party. When you look at the language, and there was a conflict between the mother and the daughter. I even asked Fox 35, I said, hey.
Does Madeline Soto's mother, Jenn, does she need to hire an attorney tonight? With everything that's happening in this investigation, let's bring in our think tank. Joining us in Seattle, Washington, trial attorney, fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ann Bremner. Also with us in West Palm Beach, Florida, trial attorney, former police lieutenant Rick King. And in Atlanta, Georgia, not sitting next to Spike Lee at MSG tonight watching his Hawks, family law attorney and law professor at Emory University, Randy Kessler, with us as well. Great to see everyone. Ann Bremner, what do you think? Does Madeline's mom need an attorney?
Yeah. She needed an attorney before she gave that whole interview. And I don't practice in Florida. I know Rick does. But I would not want to take on her case right now. I think she's in trouble.
Okay, she's not charged with anything. No one's been charged.
I know.
Anything having to do with the disappearance or murder of Madeline Soto yet. The boyfriend, Rick, has been charged for sexual abuse based upon what they found on his cell phone that he accidentally did a factory reset on the day of the disappearance. Rick, what are your thoughts about, do you think mom needs a lawyer tonight?
Yeah, I agree with that. And she needed a lawyer before she made those statements to law enforcement or to the media, because she implicated herself, because she said, we took her to the school. We dropped her off nearby. The boyfriend said something, he said I. So somehow she put herself in the mix. And because of that statement, and believe me, I'm sure they're going to continue digging for more evidence. I think she is definitely implicated, and she needed a lawyer yesterday.
Well, here's the thing, though, Randy. Here's the situation. A mother has a missing child, right? Generally, you know, you want to be in the news. You want your child found. You want to make as much noise as possible, shine the light on it. Please, have you seen my child? Have you seen my child? And your first inclination wouldn't be to call, you know, Rick King. Rick, my child's missing. Should I tell anyone about it? And Rick's going to say, well, you know, there's going to be some follow-up there. What are your thoughts tonight, Randy, though? Should she be hiring an attorney, even though no one's been charged, she hasn't been arrested, she hasn't been named as a suspect?
Newsflash, Vinny. Innocent people hire lawyers all the time, right? And innocent people that don't want to go to jail should hire lawyers even more than guilty people should hire lawyers. So there's nothing wrong with hiring a lawyer, and there should be people around her telling her, you need to have a lawyer. You know, everyone knows family members are the ones that are going to be looked at first. You were the ones that were closest to her, the most information. She should have had a lawyer, like my fellow guests, like Susan and Rick said. I'm sorry, like Ann and Rick said. Not tonight, not yesterday. As soon as this thing happened, talk to a lawyer, figure out what could happen. Lawyers can help you find the person that did it. They can give you a lot more information than just how to protect yourself, but certainly she needs a lawyer. Things are getting worse for her.
Let's do this. Let's watch something together. Interview with WFTV down in Orlando, doing great work on this case. Jenn Soto was asked about the last time she spoke to Madeline.
We spoke about her birthday party. She had a birthday party on Sunday. She had a great time. I couldn't make it because I was working, but she had an amazing time. She was so happy with all her gifts. I told her good night, and yeah, that was it. I wasn't the one who took her to school in the morning. That was my partner. But yeah.
Ann, what are your thoughts here?
I just think she's terrible. I mean, you know, you always get into court and a lawyer will say, oh, it's just nerves. Everyone reacts in different ways, but she's just terrible. And there's no, I mean, the grief you would feel losing your child would just be so evident. Remember when we saw Casey Anthony, Vinny, back at Camp Casey? I mean, she kind of reminds me of, you won't use her name, so I won't use her name, but at Camp Casey in Florida.
That woman. Rick?
I know, you're going to say that.
As I hear, do you get a sense as she's speaking that maybe she knows more than she's letting on?
You know, Vinny, so yes, I do. The answer is yes, I do. But what I want to say is, to Mr. Kessler's point, that an innocent person, sometimes anybody, and I think we all talk about this at one time or another, anybody, when you're faced with law enforcement or an authority figure talking to you, you can be nervous in general. You know, so now you add on to that, you know, you are under the emotional stress of your child is missing, you're fearful for what could happen, and because of that, you become more nervous and you say things that might seem to be incriminating. And so it's helpful to have a lawyer in those situations, someone who can speak to law enforcement for you and give you the information that they need without implicating you in a crime. And I think that's where she has really, she's kind of implicated herself and messed up.
Randy, as I listen to, you know, laying out a little bit of it, to me, it's always about a timeline. When someone goes missing, someone's murdered, it's about a timeline. And so there's a birthday party. She has to miss it. She has to work. She's a hardworking single mom, okay? I get it. You're not there. You got to work. Nothing wrong with that. But that's the last time she speaks to her is that night. So what's going on all night long? Where is she? Who's with her? What happens in the morning? She doesn't, a wake-up call, a wake-up text, nothing like that. It's, to me, so now we're looking at the window of time when she was potentially murdered.
Yeah, you know, we're going to have to piece this together. It's sort of like a documentary for TV. We're going to put a lot of things together. There's no eyewitness. There's no confession. You know, this is one of those cases where the more she says, the more she's giving the prosecution something to use.
But if she's innocent, Randy, if she's that innocent woman that we spoke about, and she may be 1,000% innocent in all of this, I don't know. It would seem that she would be a crucial witness if the facts play out this way. If the allegation is that he murdered her sometime after that party, after she spoke to her, then this mother, if she doesn't know anything, she's perhaps the most important witness in the case for the prosecution as well.
Yeah, but we're looking at TV interviews. We're not looking at a forensic interview. She should be with a lawyer, talking to the authorities, talking to law enforcement, helping them find whoever did it or find the clues. We don't convict people and we don't judge people in courts of law based on TV interviews or based on their facial gestures.
All right, let me throw this out to everyone. Let me throw this out to everyone. Is there a scenario, let's again presume that she's innocent, but let's presume that she's factually innocent,
That's
okay?
a good presumption, Vinny.
Right,
That's the right presumption.
For the sake of the argument, we're presuming that she's factually innocent. Is there any scenario, Rick, where you would see an attorney saying, no, you're not going to talk to law enforcement? The mother of the victim.
So, Vinny, here's what I would say. If I talk to her in advance and she gives me answers when I'm asking her what happened that seem to be inconsistent with the facts that are already known, yeah, I got to say, hey, listen, we're not gonna talk to the media or law enforcement. I'll do that. Whatever we need to get out to them, I'll get out. But yeah, if her facts don't line up with what I know to be true, you can't let her do it.
Even if she's factually innocent, if her story just is, there's something off about it. Ann Bremner, your thoughts about the mother of a murdered 13-year-old gets called in by police, and her lawyer's not allowing her to be interviewed.
Well, about this mother, I think that's what should happen. And I can take it all on myself as a lawyer and say, I've told her at this point, but I don't know enough about the case, so I don't want her to talk. Maybe she will at a different time. I'll put it all on myself. I mean, 2 cases where we've had this happen, where it just tubed somebody, was Scott Peterson. Remember when he gave that statement that was played over and over again and he gave to the press? Likewise, Casey Anthony. I mean, she was acquitted, but she could have been convicted on her own words. So I just wouldn't let her do it. Not from what
even if innocent,
this mother,
even
this
if
mother.
Actually innocent,
Yeah.
had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And that's where we are tonight in this case. No one's been charged. She hasn't been charged. She's not named as a suspect, but she has given a story, and the story vacillated a little bit from we dropped her off. Oh no, I wasn't there. That's, to me, that's problematic. Very problematic. Okay, think tank with us. Up next. The Black Swan murder trial, former ballerina and swimsuit model Ashley Benefield shot and killed her husband, Doug. Was it self-defense?
This shot came from the right side and ended up on the left side. What is more reasonable is that he had turned and was beginning to run, and the calf was up this way when the shot was fired.
My dad met Ashley 9 months after my mom passed. He told me that they were actually married, not just dating.
So her claim was that while she was pregnant with their daughter, he poisoned her through heavy metals.
They've disproved all of the allegations like every other time, but that started the real problems between Ashley and Doug.
He's saying the neighbor came over, female neighbor. It was a domestic. She shot her husband.
On the docket tonight, the case of Ashley Benefield and Doug Benefield. She shot and killed him. We know that for sure. The question is, was it or was it not self-defense? For those of you not familiar with the story, here's more.
Everything was very normal. I had 2 loving parents.
That is 21-year-old Eva Benefield, reminiscing on what life was like with her parents, Doug and Renee. Eva lost her mother back in December of 2015 from an undiagnosed heart condition. From then on, her family life became unsettled. 9 months after her mother's death, Eva's father, Doug, met 24-year-old Ashley Byers, a ballerina and swimsuit model, and 2 weeks later, they were married.
He eventually fessed up and he said, yeah, so we're dating. The next day I met her and we picked her up from the hotel that she was staying at here in Charleston. And then the following day, it was a Sunday, he told me that they were actually married, not just dating.
Their marriage quickly began to deteriorate once Ashley became pregnant.
Shortly after that is when she starts all the drama of accusations, but that started the real problems between Ashley and Doug.
As Ashley and Doug's relationship became more and more strained, the two became embroiled in a bitter custody battle over their young daughter.
They went to court to hash it all out, but Ashley went on to make a shocking accusation, claiming that Doug poisoned her while she was pregnant.
It was a dramatic accusation that involved days of testimony in court in Manatee County. We had nationally recognized experts that testified, and there was just no evidence at all.
It was an accusation the judge didn't believe, saying Ashley's story didn't possess a scintilla of truth. Despite the bitter conflict, Doug had been trying to work things out with Ashley, but the tensions between them grew. And on September 27th, 2020, it all came to a head.
She's with me now, quite upset. The weapon is here. We need the police before her mother and the little girl gets back from the park. I don't want them to find this.
Yeah.
You want me to go over and look at anything, or just wait for the police?
No, I want you to just wait for the police, okay? So they were in an argument?
I don't know. She came in. She was quite hysterical. I didn't know who was banging on my door. Said that he attacked her, and she shot him. They've been having trouble.
Ashley shot Doug with a .45 caliber handgun, an act that took the life of Eva's only surviving parent.
I mean, at first, it was really devastating, but I have a great support system. I have a lot of good friends and family.
Ashley claims she acted in self-defense, but prosecutors aren't buying it and have charged her with second-degree murder.
So Ashley Benefield was in court, had a full-blown hearing, a stand-your-ground hearing, trying to get immunization from these charges. It was denied by the judge, but it is on appeal right now. So again, trying to be immunized from having to face trial for the murder of Doug Benefield. We'll keep an eye on that, but she lost at the trial level in front of the judge. I want you to take a listen to Ashley Benefield here in one of their family law matters, their custody battle, describing examples of Doug's alleged aggressive behavior.
He came home from work early, and I was in the bedroom, and he came in, and he immediately became very angry and started accusing me of not loving him, and said that if I had loved him, that I would have responded with a kissing emoji or a heart back. At one point, he had turned to walk away from me, and he was standing in the opening of the closet, and I was standing right on the outside of the closet, and he turned around and he punched a hole through the wall with his fist. He pulled the gun out. I believe it was in his boot, and he pulled it out and he started waving it around. It was unholstered at the time. He then threw the gun facing me. It missed me. It hit the wall behind me, and it punched a large hole. He started screaming, and he told me that, this is a quote, that he was going to blow his brains out. And so I stopped, and I dropped to the floor, and I started crying, and I begged him to not shoot the gun. And he said that I was going to have to watch him shoot his brains out. And I was screaming and asking him not to. I told him I wouldn't leave. I was literally on my hands and knees. And he, I guess at some point, discharged the gun. I didn't see him aim it at the ceiling, but the bullet went into the ceiling.
All right, folks, the trial begins July 22nd. Florida versus Ashley Benefield. We are tracking it. We are on top of it. Let's bring back in our think tank, Dan Bremner, Rick King, Randy Kessler. Rick, we heard some testimony there from Ashley Benefield. We only heard the audio. We didn't get to see her. She lost that hearing. The judge there didn't believe anything she said. What are your thoughts? Because in this case, there's no witnesses. I think she has to tell her story if she wants to claim self-defense.
Oh, she absolutely has to tell her story. When she was telling that story, what I was thinking really was, well, if these things happen, then there's going to be some sort of physical evidence that might show that. And I think it seems to me that likely the physical evidence didn't match up with the story that she was telling, because that would be the one way that you would disprove or discredit her story. I don't know what happened in that hearing, but apparently she was not believable.
Yeah, well, the judge, wasn't a jury, it was just a judge. The judge wasn't buying what she was selling. Randy, you know how those family law things go. That was the genesis of the recording that we heard. But she made allegations that her husband, Doug, was trying to poison her and the baby. There was no physical evidence of that. And I think that was part of the reason the judge didn't find her credible when she was making these allegations. What are your thoughts about her going to trial claiming self-defense here?
So, you know, in family law, which is civil trial, civil court, it's not as hard to get a restraining order, to get some relief, to get some protection. And, you know, and she didn't have that. So in the criminal case, she's got a higher burden. She's going to have to prove this. And gosh, I mean, I don't know how she proves stand your ground when it wasn't like a one act, like all of a sudden he's coming at her, she shoots him, defends herself, and runs away. I mean, that's exactly why the judge didn't grant the relief this time, because this was something she thought about. Just because your husband is abusive and you think he might hurt you doesn't give you the ability to plot and plan to shoot him. It has to be an immediate defense. And that's what I think, you know, it's going to be hard for her to convince a jury. And she is going to have to testify, Vinny. I think you're right. And explain to the jury, the reason I shot him is X. I bet her story's going to change. I bet her story's going to be, he was coming at me, it was imminent, I didn't think about it, I just reacted, boom. And that's what's going to happen at trial. And we'll see if she's convincing.
Ann?
You know, I just would think, and she seems pretty sophisticated in going, even though she's got some pretty tall tales, but I would think she'd have a better story right now, frankly, if she's telling stories.
And she is free on bond right now. She's at home raising their child. In that case, again, coming up. All right, fasten your seatbelts, folks. Up next.
In tonight's Tank Takes, a man walks into a convenience store and grabs a box of cinnamon rolls and demands cash and then takes off with the money. And tonight we're wondering, a box of cinnamon rolls, was this an armed robbery?
The first parents in America to be charged in a mass school shooting.
Involuntary manslaughter and 4 counts of it.
The gun recovered from the shooter was the same gun that was purchased by his father.
Jennifer was found guilty.
Who is responsible for storing the gun?
Now the school shooter's father is set to stand trial.
My husband is.
The school shooter dad trial. Live coverage this week following jury selection on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time for tonight's Tank Takes, where we take a look at the world of crime and justice and those stories that we save for the end so we can enjoy them. Still with us, our think tank, Ann Bremner, Rick King, Randy Kessler. Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's get to our first one. I'm calling this one Tainted Coffee Oreo. A man in Maine has been indicted for allegedly lacing ice cream with THC that was consumed by several people at a cafe in New Hampshire last year. Apparently, it was a batch of coffee Oreo flavored ice cream. It was stored with other batches of ice cream at the Roots local cafe, and then was given to some folks, and they were not feeling good afterwards after eating this THC-laced coffee Oreo ice cream. So here's the question, Ann Bremner. If this was a new flavor, what would you name this ice cream?
I don't know. I didn't know that was the question. I would just think it would have to be made in California, not there. I mean, that sounds like something straight out of, you know, Los Angeles and San Francisco. I don't know. Roots coffee, THC/THC. Just a little surprise at the end.
Rick, I mean, Ben and Jerry, they do this with all their flavors. They come up with the creative names.
I got a couple. How about the Dreamy Creamy or the Chronic Cream?
The Chronic Cream. Randy, do you want in on it?
Yeah, I do. I think it's either the spice cream or the not so nice cream.
All right, that's good. I call it weed cream. Weed cream, they scream, we all scream for weed cream. All right.
Weed cream.
Next story, I'm calling this one Cinegun. A Nebraska man walked into a quick shop convenience store, grabs some Hostess cinnamon rolls in a box, and then demands money, gets the money, and then flees. Now, the clerk was fearing that these weren't individually wrapped frosted pastries and instead thought there might be a gun in there. My question, was this an armed robbery, Rick King?
You know, those little treats can be dangerous. You can poke an eye out one of those things. The real answer is, if she believed it was a gun, then it's an armed robbery. You know, if he fainted as if it was a gun, she believed it was, it's going to be an armed robbery.
Randy?
That's a high carb weapon. Absolutely.
There you go. And does anything smell better than the cinnamon rolls at the airport?
No, absolutely.
Especially in Orlando. There's one in Orlando. I can smell it now. Okay. Let's get to our final story tonight, calling this one Dual Horsepower. Two horses took the chance to run wild down a busy highway in Cleveland, Ohio. They escaped from a police stable. These are police horses. These are officers running down the road. Look at them go. They're galloping. Rick King, is this the fastest you've ever seen a cop run?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, can you imagine seeing that when you're on the highway, two of these horses coming at you? That's crazy.
Unreal. Ann Bremner, horses not hurt. Your thoughts tonight?
Well, I don't think wild horses would drag them back to the police station. They're out of there.
Randy, I was wondering, they look like Clydesdale. I wonder if they're drinking and galloping, right? Are they drinking and galloping?
Yeah, they're just looking for some Budweiser, right? That's look at them. They're going. You'd be running fast too if you knew you could get a whole truckload of Budweiser.
Another amazing moment that did not happen in Florida, Rick. There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Ann Bremner, Rick King, Randy Kessler.
Thanks.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate your time and your insight. We'll see you again soon. All right, folks, before we go tonight, please take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child. This is Lily Ann Robinson. Lily's missing out of Santee, California. She's only 14 years old. If you see Lily, please pick up the phone. Make the call, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST. Or you can call the San Diego County Sheriff's Office out in California. That phone number is on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Lily Ann to a safe place tonight. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for watching. Have a great night. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.